Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and today I pulled out this close to my heart Let's Party workshop to showcase something a little bit different. I know that Close to My Heart is no longer in business, and I know that there are lots of people who used to use Close to My Heart exclusively for their products are now looking for other YouTube content creators. I purchased this Let's Party workshop last year sometime because I really liked the colors of it and I thought it was a good birthday collection. And with the workshop, you do tend to get like exclusive papers and things like that. I haven't really ever purchased a workshop before, maybe a really long time ago, but it's not a layout that I actually remember. But when I was going through my room reset back in October, and I'll link that playlist here for you guys if you haven't seen it yet, I pulled out this collection and I really started to think about what happened to all of those people who used to exclusively use Close to My Heart. I know a lot of the independent consultants went over to Stampin' Up, and I know that Stampin' Up is trying to do their best to accommodate the scrapbookers because they are predominantly a card-based company. So what I thought I would do was take this workshop, and I do change it up a little bit. I don't follow the instructions exactly. I do follow it very closely, but I put my own Lisa spin on it. And I thought that maybe if I could showcase how I am using this workshop from Close to My Heart, that if you are a Close to My Heart person who enjoys their content, that you could see that I have a lot of content on my channel. I have over 500 videos that focus mainly on double page layouts, and a lot of my layouts have a lot of photos on them, which I know that's something that is really well received in the Close to My Heart community. So I'm going to take this workshop and I'm going to work the workshop, but I'm also going to change it up to make it work for me. The very first thing that I decided to do was to mat my photos on this red striped paper. The workshop actually has the striped paper to be cut down and matted on the photos individually. I decided that I wanted my photos to be 4x6. I think they call for them to be 3.5x5. And I knew that I wanted larger photos, and I run into so many issues with making these photos bigger, but it does eventually end up working in the end, and I really like the way that this layout turns out. So the very first thing I did after I matted the paper on this red stripe paper was to determine how much of a border I could have at the top and on the sides. I knew I wanted a larger border on the bottom like the workshop calls for. After I get it laid down, I bring over my right-hand side of the layout because I'm trying to figure out exactly what I need to do in regards to how much space I need for the right-hand side. I decided that I'm going to go ahead and cut the white cardstock. I did have to do some math on the white cardstock as well. Since my photos were a little bit larger, my white mats also needed to be a little bit larger, but I did want to make sure that I was covering up the pink paper as much as possible. Then when I went to mat the photos on the right-hand side of the layout, this is where I realized that this isn't going to work. There's one sheet of this red and pink striped paper, and I do not have enough to mat 5 4x6 photos on it. So I had to pull the photos up. That's where the fun begins because I am trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. I decided that instead of matting the photos on the pink and red striped paper, that I would use my background piece to mat the photos. And I'm going to make a huge mistake here. So let's go along for that journey. I put the photos down, realizing that I was too far over to the left and I had to pull them back up again. I didn't have enough space between the photos. These photos truly are 4x6. I think I cut them down like 1/4 of an inch each so that I could have some border around it, but I just wasn't realizing how much of a border I really needed, and I probably should have cut the photos down just a little bit more. So I get the photos on the background and I am using my layering guides. I do have a tutorial for that and I will link it here to trim down the photos. I knew I wanted to have an edge on the top and on the left hand side that was about 1/8 of an inch, and then I also wanted a 1-inch border down at the bottom like the workshop calls for. So I do have to fuss around because I don't use that 1-inch layering guide often, and it's a little bit more difficult to use because it's such a large space. So then when I go to add the white cardstock down, that's where I realized that I had messed up, because now I have a big hole in the back of my layout that my white cardstock does not cover up. But I am going to make it work. So I decided to go ahead and put the white cardstock down, and I do struggle with it quite a bit before I'm able to get it down straight and have enough border on the top and the bottom. I knew that I didn't want exactly the same amount on the top and bottom. I wanted a little bit more on the top. So I think the top is 1 inch and I think the bottom is like a 1/2 inch. So then I add this sprinkle paper down, and that does cover up a majority of my hole because it is a true 12-inch paper. It's 12 by 6. And then I lay my photos on top of the white paper, and I only have a little bit of space that I need to cover up. But I also knew that I wanted to add this border strip at the top of the layout like the workshop calls for. So I decided to go ahead and do that so that I know exactly what I'm working with when I do lay my photos down. I decide that I'm just going to move my photos over a little bit to the left to cover up that hole. I really wanted these two pieces of paper and the photos to meet in the middle. The workshop does call for a space between them, but I prefer the look of them meeting in the middle. But because I had that hole, I didn't really have that option. So there is a 1/4 inch on the right-hand side before the paper ends. I decide to take the pink and red stripe paper and I use my border punch to cut a big scalloped border on the bottom of the photos. And then I decide to lay it on top of the pink paper. So I do cover up the pink paper entirely. The layout is finally starting to come together and I really like the way that it looks. I do pull out my inks and I pull out Worn lipstick, which is a really pretty pink color. It matches the pink in that red and pink stripe very well. And I decide to ink up all of my edges. And then I'm going to lay down the photo mat on the left-hand side of the layout. As I'm doing that, let me just tell you a little bit about these photos. These photos were actually taken on my birthday of last year. I tend to celebrate my birthday several times at Disney. We always do a character dining for our birthdays. We don't tend to go and do big character dinings anytime else because we are pass holders. So when I do go to do our character dining, it's usually not on my birthday because we have to do it like on the weekends and things like that. But I did take the day off from work and go and spend the day at Animal Kingdom and just spent the day having a me day. So I ate all of my favorite foods to start out with breakfast and then lunch as well as a dessert. And then I went on the safari ride and the lions came out and they actually roared, which was amazing. And then we did the Gorilla Falls exploration trails and the hippo was just like hanging out and he was so beautiful. And then I went over to the animation experience and drew Piglet. So it was just a really nice, fun day. I just spent most of the day at the park, just enjoying being at the park in the middle of the week, which is not something that I normally get to do since I do have a Monday through Friday 9-to-5 job. All right, so on the right-hand side of the layout, I do also mat the photos in that pink background paper, and then I added the white cardstock on top of the pink paper as well. So mimicking what I did on the left-hand side with a little less work since I didn't have to do 3 4x6 photos. I really like this sprinkle paper, but a majority of it gets covered up. And I know that in the original workshop, it did showcase a little bit more because the photos were a little smaller, but I definitely am more about making sure that my photos are the focal point. So for this particular layout, I do have 10 total photos on my layout. I do use the Project Life app or Canva. I have tutorials on both of those in regards to how to make your photos smaller. So for the photo on the right-hand side with the animation experience as well as Piglet, I did use the Project Life app for that one to put 2 3x4 photos on a 4x6, and that is an app that you can use on your phone or tablet. And then on the left-hand side, you can see that I have 3 photos over there, and I use the Canva app for that. That is a program that you can use on your phone or you can use on the computer, and it makes it very easy to add photos to it. And I do have a tutorial on how to do that along with some templates, which will make your life easier by just dropping your photos into the Canva template. So I will link that here for you guys. And then I also decided that I had that 3x4 photo at the top, and the workshop calls for a circle piece up there at the top, but I figured why not add another photo? It just gives me a spot to add another photo that I had taken of myself by the PhotoPass photographers. So I do use my circle punch to cut that out and add it to the top. But of course, I forgot to add the border strip, so I did have to pull it up to be able to add that border strip down so that it matched the left-hand side of the layout. And I also forgot to adhere some of my pieces down, so had to do that as well. So now that I got that down, I'm back with working on that photo. And I realized that in the workshop guide, there were some other pieces that I was missing. And they were from the sheets of paper that you punched out. And on the back of it, it actually has the label for which layout it goes with. So you're able to make sure that you have the right one. For this particular layout, there were 2 circles that were to be punched out and added to the layout, one up in the upper right hand corner where that photo is, and I also added a cupcake, and I did decide to put that up on fun foam so that I have a little bit of dimension in that area as well. And then over on the left hand side, it does call for another one of those circles. It is hard to see in the video, but that blue paper does have tone on tone stars on it. I also pulled out a circle that has some balloons on it and added that up on fun foam to add to the layout. I am referring to the workshop guide mainly because I really wanted to follow the workshop guide pretty closely for anyone who is a close to my heart person who enjoys their workshops, so that you can see that even though I did make quite a bit of changes to it by adding larger photos and by making it really my own layout, there are still a lot of the same elements that are in that workshop. So you can take these workshops and make them your own if you do still have some left over from when Close to My Heart was in business. The workshop also came with these acrylic pieces, and there were 3 that I think that they're supposed to be candles, maybe sparklers. They're just like a thin piece, and then at the top has this like starburst design. It called for 4 of them in that area. The 4th one was a blue one, but the blue got lost on the blue paper, so I just left it off and just left the 3 with the pink, black, and white. I also decided to add the sticker that says "It's my birthday," and I'm going to add that to the upper right hand side. I did move the cupcake off. I hadn't put it down yet, and I wanted to make sure that I had enough space for the tag that says "It's my birthday," and then I decided to move the cupcake on top of the tag instead of to the right like I had it before. And then I went into my stash because I obviously have to add some Disney elements to this particular layout. The workshop calls for happy birthday banner to be over on the left-hand side, but because my photos were much larger, I didn't have a whole lot of space over there. So I decided to move my title to the right, and I do have this chipboard piece that says magical, and the M does look like Mickey Mouse with the red and yellow, but there is enough red and yellow in this collection that it does look like it matches very well. For the word birthday, I was going to put it flat to the layout, but I always struggle with adding stickers, especially banner stickers, flat, and I tend to have a lot easier of a time if I put them up on fun foam, because then I have the ability to move them around quite a bit and really decide on how I want them to lay out before I actually put them down. I did decide to ink up the edges in that same worn lipstick just to give it a dimension and tie it all together. Once I inked it all up, then I just pulled the backing off of the fun foam and added the word birthday, and I made sure that it curved nicely underneath the word magical. You guys know that I am a huge Disney person. I've been a pass holder for quite a few years now, and so I'm excited to really start working on my Disney layouts this year. That is my goal for this year, is to get more Disney layouts. So I will absolutely be using a lot of Disney paper, but sometimes I don't necessarily need Disney paper. This is not a Disney theme, but it does have some Disney colors to it with the red and the yellows, and I was able to really bring in some other Disney elements that really tie it in together. The acrylic piece also had a balloon, and I thought it would be cute to have the balloon coming off the word magical. So I do play around with that for a little bit, but then I take a break from it. Back in the workshop guide, there are some stickers as well as some acrylic pieces in the cluster in the bottom right, and I'm just really following the workshop guide to the placements. I also added this sticker on the far right that's from one of the Say Cheese collections. It has some hearts and some starbursts that look very similar to the acrylic pieces that come in this collection. I then decided to add the balloon coming off of the I and the C, and I thought I was going to add the blue balloon, but pink is my favorite color, so I thought, why not go ahead and use that pink balloon? I did find in my Disney embellishment book a sign that says fun this and this way, and it's pointed both ways, so it's basically saying wherever you go, it's going to be fun. So I added that to the title cluster. I thought that the balloon needed a Mickey head. So if you've been to Disney lately, you know that their Mickey shaped balloons come in these like clear balloons themselves. So it's like two pieces. So that's what I was kind of going with by adding the Mickey head to the balloon. I looked through this sticker book that I had, and I did originally start out with one that had a white backing, but I decided to go with the clear backing, and I really like the way that that turns out. I then added Minnie's bow to the upper right hand side of the cluster. And then I pulled out some Disney word phrases. Over on the far right, it says best day ever. And then underneath the photos on the left, and my head is in the way a little bit, but it says laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, and dreams are forever. And it's a quote from Walt Disney. And then that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. I did my journaling offline, and it says, for my birthday this year, I took a day off to visit Animal Kingdom. I enjoyed my favorite foods and the night blossom drink. On the safari, I saw lions, a rare sighting, and spotted a hippo at the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail. I also drew Piglet at the animation experience. It was indeed a magical birthday celebration. All right, if you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.